This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
Welcome back to the show. Lynn Winters joining us here. We are talking today a little bit about change. We all want to make change, right? We all have to change. Sometimes we don't like change. Not easy, right? But also as a hypnotherapist, she's joining us today to give us some tips and tricks and, of course, talk about her self-hypnosis series. If you haven't heard her, met her yet, seen her, Lynn Winters joining us live today from the Finger Lakes in the New York State area. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Good. Well, Kyuka Energy Arts is the name of the company. She, as a Reiki master, helps you with a lot when it comes to energy healing. And then, of course, with hypnosis, we're going to break it down. But first and foremost, I got to wish you an almost happy birthday.
Thank you. I appreciate that very much.
All right. So let's chat today. For those, a little bit about your background before we begin, if you don't mind.
Nope. I am certified in hypnosis, specializing also in past life regression hypnosis. And I have created and recorded a series of Winter's self-hypnosis CDs for very common problems that plague people, which we can talk about more later. I also do one-on-one consultations with people in person, or you can go online and register for something with me in Zoom. Sometimes people email me questions. I also am a Reiki master. I do individual Reiki and I do group Reiki, wisdom circle, I call it, so that the wisdom circles back to you. And I also teach Reiki training level 1 and 2.
Beautiful. Well, thank you. And we're excited you're here. And we're going to start today, if you don't mind, by telling us a little bit about change. And you're going to give us some tips and advice on a few different ways, 5 different ways in particular to change, right? Because change is never easy. Let's talk about it.
Change is not easy. It's easier to make a program, it seems, than it is to change or to change a different program. But change is extremely important. And I think that that's one of the biggest reasons that we are here is to change and to grow and to expand ourselves to create a much better us. And so basically the people that are in therapy, most of them have divided it into 5 common ways that people can change. And some of them are better than others, but they're all good. And some of them are more impacting. So the first way is talk therapy, which we're all pretty familiar with. And that one has a lot to do with communication and analysis, analyzing your behavior and examining. And without self-examination, there really isn't any change. Another one is peer pressure. Getting arrested or something, and something that society is going to put pressure on you that causes you to have a consequence that makes you look at your behavior or the choices that you're making. And so peer pressure is one way that people change. Another way is education. Lots of podcasts, for example, are a way of education. Books. There are a variety, especially today, of ways that you can become educated about your design, how you function, and different ways and techniques that you can change. And you can access them yourself. That's another way that people work on themselves. Another way is, and we all know this, is loss and trauma. Loss and trauma is actually one of the most impacting ways because it hurts. It hurts us emotionally. It impacts our lives on multi-levels. And it's pretty obvious that it impacts the heart and our thoughts, our intelligence, or our brain. And so that's one of the reasons that it is so effective. And then of the 5, the last one is hypnosis. And that's extremely effective because it goes right to the programming, and your programming of everything that you do is in your subconscious mind. And so if you want to change something about yourself, it really is a wise choice to use hypnosis to go to the programming and change it into the person that you really want to be.
All right. Well, there's a lot of change ahead too. Change of the seasons. How does that affect us? It's a lot of change happening to see every day, right?
Yes, and the point of that I really like is that everything impacts us. The temperature impacts us, and sometimes temperature impacts some people worse than others. Sometimes people can't take cold. Sometimes, if you're sleeping in a different bed, it impacts us. Change is really, and what's going on is very, very influential to us. When we want to change ourselves into who we want to be, considering all of those things is really important. If you are better, if you work better in warmer weather, then you might want to go take a vacation. If you work better, if it's silent, I know I work better when there's not a lot of noise. I don't even listen to the car radio when I drive
Yeah.
because I'm so distractible. And so I try to have as much silence as possible and stillness. It really benefits me. So get to know yourself. That's a really good point. And what brings out the best in you. And also look at the time of day too. Some people are, they say morning people, and some people are night people. Do the things that are the most important at the time of day when you're at your best. So examine every aspect of your life.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Well, thank you for that. And yeah, I just look at and I love this is the best thing. Everyone in the world, everybody was affected for the first time, I think, ever. Well, since in our generation, right? With the COVID, the pandemic. And that was like big wake up, like holy change. Gotta change my job,
Yeah,
change my career, change my schedule. My kids are at home, being home. There was so much change everywhere. And I really believe that put us to the test. Gave us a lot of anxiety. Heck yeah. And we're like, okay, mentally, we're like not well, but we, I think, have adapted. Well, a lot of us, again, not all, unfortunately, we did lose a lot of lives, but most of us survived that, most of us, right? And we had to
yeah,
cope with change. And I just feel like, hey, if we could do it, worldwide, each and every individual in the world had to go through this change, you could do anything. Like you're stronger than, it's that saying.
absolutely.
Stronger than you are, braver than you are. It's like from Winnie the Pooh. I don't know. My sister, I have a plaque in my son's room. My sister gave me, but you are stronger than you are, braver than you are, something, something, something. But it's one of those positive quotes. But it's so true. It is. It is because it's not easy. But
I
um,
think you're absolutely totally right.
yeah. And of course, but there's help with like hypnosis. So go ahead.
No, I think you're absolutely right. One of the things, I'm going to go back to the COVID topic. One of the things about that and it impacted everyone, it really forced us to examine ourselves
Yeah.
and what we were doing and how to do it and if we really want to do it. Many people changed their lives after that and
Yeah.
lived differently. I know that just doing Reiki with people now, since COVID, half of my clients are distant Reiki clients. I do them energetically through the
Mm-hmm.
ethers. And so, it really impacted us all on a large scale, even if we don't realize it. I also have some clients that feel like it was what they needed to stop what they were doing so that they could slow down and maybe incorporate some more things that they would get pleasure from. Yeah.
So how do we link into hypnosis and how is that helping people change in what specific ways?
You're, I think that people have an opportunity to change or to be challenged. If we look at challenge differently, then the change already begins. Challenge really is something that is meant to help us and not something that is supposed to mess us up or make us angry. It's something that is supposed to look at what we're doing and really ask ourselves, is that what we want to do or how do you want to do it? And I think that it gives us an opportunity to ask ourselves if we're the person that we want to be. That's really what it's all about.
Yeah. Well, what else about change have you learned over the years? I mean, you're working with people who want to change so much.
Yes, I am. And a lot of times people ask me about hypnosis and they ask me, what is hypnosis? Because
Yeah.
people have an idea that hypnosis is something that they're afraid of, that someone else has control of them. And back when hypnosis became popular during the time of Houdini, that's when they used to refer to them as subjects because they believed then that the hypnotist had the power over you to make you do something. And now they realize that that's not true, that no one can no one can change your will except you unless you give that to them. And so we don't even use the term subject anymore. We use the term client because we are actually just helping them to facilitate a level of relaxation. And when you get to a level of relaxation, that's when you communicate inside yourself with images. And relaxation and images is the state that people are in when they are in hypnosis. The reason that that is so impacting is because that state is the bridge into your subconscious. And in your subconscious is where all of your programming is, all of your programming. And not just your programming from this lifetime, but your programming actually from all your lifetimes. And that's how past life regression works.
Got it. And what else do you want people to know about hypnosis and about, how it works and any stories about, change that are related to the work you're doing, obviously, which is a lot because your job is to help people change.
Yes. It's really interesting because when people are truly changing, it's usually changing in a way that they didn't expect. And that's what I can actually guarantee is that it will be unexpected to them. They think it's going to unfold in a certain way, but it doesn't if they're really changing. Yesterday, I did a past life regression on someone, and they came in just very, very curious, and they had some topics that they were interested in thinking about and changing. And then by the end of the
Mhm.
hypnosis, they were relieved and empowered. That it's very, very empowering because really the information is just something that she forgot. And so she wasn't applying it. And to realize that it wasn't a fault of hers or something that was shame based really freed her up. And even during the hypnosis, she was tearful. She was crying in the hypnosis. And you can't fake emotion.
And is there anything that, um, would you say is kind of, what's the word? Not dangerous, but so people kind of say like the reason why they don't try to change, is it fear? Is it, what are you seeing the commonality with people?
That's a great question. Everyone has fear. I think that fear um,
Mm-hmm.
is usually a residue of trauma or an experience that they had that they don't want to have again. And so it's our animal way of protecting ourselves is to avoid it or to um, um, pretend that it's not there. But really, everyone has fear, and a lot of times, which is interesting, people sometimes people don't have a fear of the issue that they experienced or the block that they have. Sometimes they have fear of what life would be like if they didn't have that block, how it
Yeah.
might change themselves, or how it might change the relationships they have with people, like their marriage, or how it will change. Will they be more dissatisfied with their job, or they're more afraid of what could happen if they move the blocks out of the way sometimes than if they actually keep them.
Mm, yeah, very true. And as far as your self hypnosis series, who is it for specifically? What type of condition or change do we want to make that we use your self hypnosis series?
I created this 7 albums for self hypnosis based on what I felt from working with clients for several years was the most impacting and the most common for people so that most people could use them. There's stress release, and that's actually the most popular because everyone is stressed and we don't really have a lot of tools. This is a great tool, and there are several tools inside that hypnosis recording that can help you with your stress on a regular basis. And so that's the reason I created that one. I also created a hypnosis called body balancing, and I also did that one yesterday for someone. Um, and that one I created because I was asked a long time ago if I would create a CD or a record. Actually, it was a CD at that time. If I would create a CD for people that were women in particular that were overweight. And I thought, I am not going to do that, because I didn't really feel like um, their self-esteem had anything to do with that. It doesn't mean that some people need to lose weight or gain weight or whatever for their health. I'm not saying that. But for someone to use the way they look as a measurement of their worth was something I didn't want to participate in. And from what I experienced working with people and what I experienced with even my female friends, the biggest challenge was to have women always feel that they are in love with their bodies and that it's okay to be different, and that seemed to be something that I wanted to do something about or offer help for. So I created body balancing so that you could use that recording to change the relationship that you have with each of your body parts, and then really feel um, like you are protected from the outside impact of people wanting to measure you because of your looks in some form, any form. And that seems to be very popular and also very effective. The woman yesterday that I did that with, took her through that. She was very surprised to find uh, her body's reaction, even during the hypnosis at times, when she was relaxing and letting go of some thoughts that she had had about it before, her body would twitch or her legs
Yeah.
would thrash or whatever as it was actually leaving her body.
Wow.
So it's really, it's a very good one. Yeah. And pain management is another one. We all have pain, and I know some friends of mine who take a lot of ibuprofen or aspirin or painkillers over the counter, and they just don't want to keep taking them. They would like some other kind of alternative, or some people that are going through a severe illness or condition, and they also want to participate in their healing and in reducing pain, and not just be given pain relievers. Doesn't mean that they're not going to take them. It just means that they want to participate. Pain management is a great tool because there are different techniques inside that recording that will help you reduce your own pain using your thoughts and also your
Mm-hmm.
feelings. And that's really important, to have access to your own power. You have so much more power than we know. So that one works really, really great. Insomnia relief. I know people who have severe insomnia to the point that if you don't get enough sleep, your body never can restore, and it makes it vulnerable, so that you are vulnerable to illness, and it is chronic over years and night after night after night. And I also know people who don't have sleeping issues but every once in a while have them. I had a client who never had a sleeping issue, but she'd been married for many, 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 many years, and he died, and she just was
Uh,
having a lot of sleep issues and traveling to see her children. And so she took her recording of insomnia relief and she did it every night. And she actually
uh,
emailed me and said, I'm so grateful to have that
yeah.
recording, because I know I can get to sleep regardless of what my day is like with the help of that. So it's a really great recording. I love that recording. I love all of them. And also there's cigarette control. I used to smoke. I can't even believe I used to smoke. I've always looked a lot younger than I am. And so when I was a teenager, I looked really like a kid. And so I smoked to look older, which was a huge, gigantic mistake. And so when it came time to quit, because I enrolled in music school as voice is my
Aw.
instrument,
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was crazy to smoke while I was learning how to sing. So I tried to quit, and I did quit. I ate cold turkey, and it was one of the hardest things I have ever done. And so when I created cigarette control, one of the things that I remember is I felt very ashamed of smoking, and that didn't seem to help me quit. And so I wanted to create something
Mm-hmm.
that would help people to quit, that was not shame based, that was more compassionate and empowering, something that would encourage them to realize that they have control. If you want just one cigarette instead of a pack, then that's a win. And so that was the approach that I took when I created cigarette control, and it seems to be much more effective for people than um, just making people feel bad about smoking. It doesn't seem to work very well.
Yeah. Oh my
And
goodness.
then there's also sobriety. sobriety support. And I love that one too. That one's very, very loving. It reminds us of the magnificent spiritual essence that we are, instead of feeling very, very badly because something else outside of ourselves is controlling us. It's very empowering, and it's very effective, very effective. Whether it's alcohol or drugs, or whether you're codependent, or whether you have obsessive thoughts that you cannot change. We all have different addictions. People can become addicted to exercise. It doesn't matter what it is, whatever you're using to avoid emotion can become an addiction. And so this, again, is a really positive, loving recording that impacts everyone. The clients that I have that are long-term with me, that have been with me for many, many years, I have all given them at some point the insomnia relief, or the sobriety support recording, and been with them while I do Reiki on them. And they love it because it is so expanding into empowering who they are. So it's not just for a condition or an addiction that you may have. It's also for wanting to change yourself in some way when that habit that you're doing is an addiction, no matter what it is. So they're great. Yeah.
Thank you.
And then I did anger alignment, and anger alignment is for the common man and not just man or woman, but the common person who seems to be overreactive and have rage. I call them rageaholics, that happen to not have an array of other emotions, but go right to the anger button. And so it really is a very positive way to look at anger. Anger is a very important thing to have, or we would not have it. It's sort of like warning us when something is inappropriate or our boundaries are crossed. So it's very important. But learning how to have it and what to do and how to communicate it and when it's appropriate and when it isn't, and how to do it is really important. And that recording really helps people before they get in trouble.
For sure. Thank you so much. All right. Well, we want to reach out to Lynn and to talk more about your self-hypnosis series and to work with you virtually, by the way, because you could do this anywhere around the world. How do we contact you?
You can reach me at Keuka, Keuka, energyarts.com. That's Keuka, Keuka, energyarts.com. And you can email me or sign up for something, a one-on-one consultation about anything.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Pleasure having you as always, and looking forward to next time. Enjoy the rest of your day and a very happy birthday tomorrow. Enjoy your family in town, okay?
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You are so welcome. Thank you. And to all of our listeners, stay tuned. We'll be right back with more.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.